the 27th of April, 2026, Monday morning. We are in chapter 5 on human life from the Theravada perspective, common Buddhist text, guidance, insight from the Buddha. Chief Editor, Dr. Pradhamma Kosachan. We left off in self-determination of one's rebirth. Chapter 5, from the Theravada tradition perspective on the human life. This passage explains that a person, through the cultivation of virtue, sila, and wisdom, panya, and a firm resolve, can gain the kind of good rebirth that they aspire for. Here, Bhikkhu monks, any monk lives endowed with sattha, faith, learning, sutta, liberty, wisdom, and it occurs to him, oh, may I be born again among the rich men, the ruling class, after the dissolution of the body and after death. He strengthens that thought, he makes it his resolve and develops it. And when his mental activities and ways of living are developed and increasingly cultivated in that manner, it conduces to birth there. This, Bhikkhu monks, is the path, the way that conduces to birth there. Also, Bhikkhu monks. Any Bhikkhu monk lives endowed with faith, and it occurs to him, oh, may I be born among rich Brahmins or among rich householders after death, after the dissolution of the body. He strengthens that thought. This, Bhikkhu monks, is the path, the way that conduces to birth there. Also, Bhikkhu monks. Any Bhikkhu monk lives endowed with faith, and it has been heard by him that the gods of the four guardian kings are long-lived. Possessed of beauty and abundant happiness, it occurs to him, oh, may I be born among the gods of the four guardian kings. After death, he strengthens that thought. This, Bhikkhu monks, is the path to birth there. This can be cited from the Sankha Rupati Sutra from the Majjhima Nikaya, Volume 3, page 900 or page 99 through 104. Karma can mature slowly, and one's view of attitude at the ends of one lifetime is important. The first passage comes from the section which says that those with the concentration-based supernormal vision, nana dasana, who see how beings are reborn, should be careful not to overgeneralize from their experience. Bad people are often, but not always, reborn in a bad rebirth in their next life. Sometimes their rebirth may happen to be a good one. Good people are often, but not always, reborn in a good rebirth in their next life. But sometimes the rebirth may happen to be in a bad one. Hence, one should not dogmatically assert that all bad people have bad next rebirth. All good people have a good next rebirth, nor that a person's conduct is irrelevant to their future rebirths. Then this is explained. There may be an opposite kind of past karma that will be what determines a person's next birth, or that may change their view of things as they approach death. A bad person may regret their bad actions and resolve that good actions are important. A kind of deathbed conversion, or a good person may meanly regret their good actions. A kind of deathbed decision, disconversion, One bad and good actions will still have the results, but in the life after the next one. The second passage is given by Gautama Buddha to a banker who has been a little mean in his offerings, or generally speaking, stingy, selfish, and is embarrassed about it. Gautama Buddha reassures him that all acts of goodness and kindness brings results, however small they may seem, and that he should not be embarrassed or think that it will not have a good effect in the future. Now, Ananda, the individual here who destroys living beings, take what is not given, misbehaves with regard to the enjoyment of sensual pleasures, tells lies, engaged in the vice of speech, harsh speech, and idle chatter, has intense desire, a malicious mind, and is of wrong view. He, after the dissolution of the body, after death, is born in the woeful state, a bad destination, the abyss, the hellish realms. He may either have also done an evil deed earlier that has the potential to bring about a painful feeling, or he have been done such latter, or he may have entertained the wrong or observed wrong views at the time of death. Due to this, he is born after the dissolution of the body in the hellish realms, since he has destroyed living beings and been of wrong view. He will experience their consequences either here or now or in the next rebirth or at some later time. Now, Ananda, the individual who here is a destroyer of living beings, is born in a heavenly world. He may have also done a good deed earlier that has been potential to bring about pleasant feeling, or he may have not done it later, or at that time of death he may have entertained and observed right views. Due to this, he is born in the heavenly world. Since he has destroyed living beings and have been of wrong view, he will experience their consequences either here or now or in the next rebirth or at some later time, as the law of causality takes its course. Now, Ananda, the individual who abstains from doing evil and who abstains from destroying living beings and who is of right view, is born after the dissolution of the body and after death in a good destination, a heavenly realm. He may have also done a good deed earlier that has been the potential to bring about a pleasant feeling, or may have done it later, or at the time of death he may have entertained and observed right view. Due to this, he is born in the heavenly realm. Since he has abstained from destroying living beings and have been of right view, he will experience their consequences either here and now or in the next rebirth or at some latter time. Now, Ananda, the individual who here abstains from destroying living beings, taking what not has been given and is of right view after the dissolution of the body and after death, is born in the hellish realm. He may either have also done an evil deed earlier and has the potential to bring about a painful feeling, or he may have done it such latter, or he may entertain and observe wrong views at the time of death. Due to this, he is born at the dissolution of the body in the hellish realms. Since he has abstained from destroying living beings and have been of wrong view, he will experience their consequences either here or now or in the next birth or in some latter time. This can be cited in the Mahakama Vibhaga Sutra, Majjhima Nikaya, Volume 3, 214 to 215. The next verse is from the Dhammapada, verse 122. Do not disregard karmic benefit and think it will not come to me. Even by the falling of drops of water, a water pot is filled. Just so the wise man is also filled with karmic benefit, even though he gathers it little by little. The implication of karma and rebirth for attitudes to others. You too have experienced this. This passage emphasizes that in some past life, one must have experienced similar things to the bad and good experiences that others now have. Hence, following feeling for those who suffer in non-attachment to good experience is wise. Bhikkhu monks, this wandering from life to life is without a discoverable beginning of living beings running around, wandering around in the cycle. A first being is not discerned. When you see someone who has fallen on hard times, overwhelmed with hard times, you should conclude, we too have experienced just this sort of thing in the course of that long, long time. When you see someone who is happy and fortunate, you should conclude, we too have experienced just this sort of things in the course of that long, long time. This can be cited in the Dukkhatam and Sukhitam Sutras from the Samyutta Nikaya, Volume 2, 186 to 167. Meaning again with those who have been good to one in the past lives. This passage emphasizes how one has been parted from relatives in countless past lives. Hence, one should not want any more rebirths. It also implies that most beings one meets have probably been good to one as a close relative in some past life, so that one should be good to them now, even if they now cause one suffering. Bhikkhu monks, this wandering from life to life is without a discoverable beginning. It's not easy to find a being who has not been your mother at one time in the past, a being who has not been your father, your brother, your sister, your son, your daughter at one time in the past. Long have you thus experienced pain, experienced anguish, experienced disaster, and the swelling of cemeteries, enough to become disenchanted with all conditioned things, enough to become dispassionate, enough to be released. This can be cited in 6 Sutras on Relatives, Samyutta Nikaya, Volume 2, 189. This life and all rebirths entail aging, sickness, and death. Nothing that is conditioned is permanent. This verse is said to have been uttered by the god Sakka. Sakka is also another name for Indra. On the death of Gautama Buddha, it is often cited in the Buddhist funerals. Anika vata sankara padavaya damino upachitawa nirushanti te sama sukho. Impermanent indeed are conditioned things. Their nature is to rise and decay. Having arisen, they cease. Happiness is their stealing. This can be cited from Mahaparinibbana Sutra, Dikha Nikaya, Volume 2, 157. Bhikkhu monks, you may hold on to whatever object of grasping which is permanent, everlasting, eternal, and having the nature of not changing. Bhikkhu monks, do you indeed see such an object of grasping? No, venerable sir. Good. I do not see one either. This can be cited in the Akala Sutra, Majjhima Nikaya, Volume 1, 137. Frailties on human life. In this passage, an Arihat who had become or who had come from a wealthy family illustrates to a king the frailties of human life. Great King, there are 4 expoundings of the Dharma expounded by the Blessed One. The first is that the world is unstable and is moving towards its end. The second is that the world is lacking in any protection or an overlord. The third is that the world cannot be owned by oneself, and one has to go leaving behind everything. The fourth is that the world is deficient and enslaved to unfulfilled craving. Venerable Ratapala said that of the world unstable and is moving towards its end. How should the meaning of what was said to be understood? Great King, there was a time when you were 20 or 25 years old, when you were expert in riding elephants, horses, chariots, and handling the bow and sword, having strong legs and arms, able and skilled in warfare. Yes, Venerable Ratapala, I was like that. I was even inspired at times and did not see anyone comparable to my strength. What do you think, Great King? Are you the same now? Not indeed, Venerable Ratapala. Now I am worn, old, have reached the end of life, and have lived my lifespan. I am now 80 years old. On some occasion, thinking of stepping in one direction, I step in another direction. It is on account of that the Blessed One, Gautama, the Buddha, has said that the world is unstable. Venerable Vatapala. In the royal family, there are squadrons of elephants, horses, chariots, and infantry. They would come to our help in the case of any emergency. Venerable Ratapala says that the world is lacking in protection or an overlord. How is this to be the meaning to be understood? Great King, what do you think? Do you have any chronic illness? I have, Venerable Ratapala. Sometimes friends and ministers, kith and kin, stand around me thinking how the Kuru King will pass away. What do you think about this, Great King? Could you have the expectation, let my friends and ministers, kith and kin come together and share my pain so that my pain will become lighter? Or do you yourself have to experience that pain? Venerable Ratapala, I myself have to experience that pain. It is on account of this that the Blessed One, Gautama, said that the world is lacking in any protection. Venerable Ratapala, in this royal family is found plenty of gold coins, gold both in the ground below and in the sky above. But Venerable Ratapala says that the world cannot be owned by oneself or has to let go, leaving behind everything. How should be the meaning of this that was spoken be seen? What do you think, Great King? Now you move about having fulfillment in 5 strands of sensual pleasure, endowed with them. Will you be in the position to say later also, I am moving about fulfillment in the 5 strands of sensual pleasures, endowed with them? or will others take over this wealth? And you will pass on that debt in accordance with your karma. I will not be in such position, Venerable Ratapala. Others will take over this wealth, and I will pass on in accordance with my karma. It is on the account of this that the Blessed One has said that the world cannot be owned by oneself, and one has to let go, leaving behind everything. Venerable Ratapala said that the world is deficient and enslaved by unfulfilled craving. How should this meaning of this that was spoken be seen? What do you think, great king? Do you dwell in the Kuru land which is prosperous? Yes, Venerable Ratapala. I dwell in the Kuru which is prosperous. What do you think, great king? Supposing a person who is trustworthy and reliable should come to you from the eastern directions and should tell you, great king, please know that I come from the eastern direction, that I have seen there a huge settlement of people, wealthy and prosperous, densely populated and full of people. Is it possible to conquer it in such and such, with such and such a force, great king? Conquer it. What would you do then? Venerable Rapala, I would conquer and dwell in that region too. Great king, it is on this account that the blessed Gautama has said that the world is deficient and enslaved by unfulfilled craving. This can be cited in the Ratapala Sutra, Majjhima Nikaya, Volume 2, 70 through 73. Accept the inevitability of death. This passage emphasizes that death is known to be inevitable. So what is the use of grieving when it arrives? The life of mortals here is unpredictable and uncertain. It is difficult, short, and always mixed with suffering. There is no means by which those who are born would not die. They come to decay and then death. Living beings certainly are of this nature. Just as for the ripe fruits, there is fear of fall in the early morning. Likewise, for one born mortal, there is constant fear of death. Just as all clay pots made by the potter gets destroyed in the end, so it is with the life of mortals. Children and the grown-ups, fools and the wise, everyone goes under the strait of death. Everyone is overcome by death. To those destined to die when going to the next world, neither the father protects the son, nor a relative others' relatives. Look how, as relatives look on and lament, one by one mortals are led away like cattle for the slaughter. Thus the world is afflicted with death and decay. Therefore the wise, knowing this nature of the world, do not grieve, whose path of arrival or departure is not known, not seeing either end, nor laments for him in vain. If a deluded person, willing where to obtain any benefit, inflicting any injury on himself, a wise person do it too. By crying and grief he does not attain to peace of mind. It would lead to exceeding sorrow for him and inflict harm on the body. Inflicting self-harm, he becomes thin and of bad appearance. By it, the dead are not protected and dwelling is futile. A person who does not abandon sorrow comes to more suffering. Bewailing the dead, one comes under the sway of grief. Look at others too, on their journey to death, who reach according to their actions. Living beings coming to the sway of death here do indeed tremble. Do whatever one seeks an identity for oneself, it becomes something other than that. Loss is like that. See the nature of the world. Even if a young man lives 100 years or more, he suffers the loss of the cycle of relatives, and he gives up his life here. Therefore, having listened to the words of the great Arihat, seeing a dead departed person, put away dwelling and think, he is unobtainable by me. Just as the house on fire is put out with the heap of water, likewise the wise, insightful, learned, skilled person would quickly dispel the grief that is born, like the wind in a tuft of cotton wool. Wailing and longings and one's unhappiness are like an arrow stickling in one. These should be drawn out by one who seeks his own happiness. The arrow withdrawn, unattached, and having gained a peace of mind. Having overcome all grief, one becomes free of sorrow with the fire of craving quenched. This can be cited in the Sala Sutra, Sutra Nipata 574, 593. How the search for sensual pleasure leads to suffering. This passage, after talking of the greater joy and happiness and concentrative calm, points out the perils and disadvantages of chasing after sexual and other sensual pleasures, as lay people often do. The stresses of making a living, of failures in this, of loss of the products of one's labor, quarrels, and the wars over possessions, robbery, and the punishments that may lead to, and the bad rebirth arising from the misconduct prompted by attachment to sensual pleasures, kamaguna. Mahanama, even though it is clearly seen by a disciple of the Noble One, as it has really come to be with proper insight in that sensual pleasures have little satisfaction but much suffering, much distress, that the dangers therein are many, until they attain joy and ease apart from sensual desires and apart from unwholesome states or something more peaceful than that, they do not cease reverting to sensual pleasures. Mahanama. What is the satisfactions in sensual pleasures? There are 5 strands of sensual pleasure. What are the 5? There are the visible forms discernible by the eye, likable, lovely, pleasant, beautiful, associated with sensual desires, enticing. Sound discernible by the ear, smells discernible by the nose, tastes discernible by the tongue, tactile sensation discernible by the body. Whatever pleasures and happiness arise on account of these 5 strands of sensual pleasures, that is the satisfactions in sensual pleasures. Mahanama. What is the dangers in sensual pleasures? Here a child of a good family would have to make a living by some occupation, undergoing cold and heat, suffering from harm resulting from contact of gladflies and mosquitoes, touch of the mind, heat and snakes, risking dying of hunger and thirst. This is the danger of sensual pleasures here and now. A bundle of suffering owing to sensual pleasures, springing from sensual pleasures, on account of sensual pleasures, and due to nothing but sensual pleasures. This child of a good family, through striving and exerting, may sometimes not produce wealth. Then they grieve and lament, cry, beating their chests, and come to bewilderment, thinking, my effort was useless. My endeavor was fruitless. This too is the danger of sensual pleasures. Sometimes, when the child of a good family strives and exerts, wealth is produced. They experience suffering and mental distress on account of the need to protect their wealth, thinking, may my wealth not be taken over by the kings, carried away by thieves, consumed by fire, washed away by flood, water, or taken by unliked heirs, as they guard or protect their wealth. It is in this manner taken over by kings. Then they grieve, thinking, whatever I have had, even that is no more for me. Again, Mahanama, owing to sensual pleasures, kings dispute with kings. Those of the ruling class dispute with those of the ruling class. Those of the priestly class dispute with those of the priestly class. Householders dispute with householders. A mother dispute with her son. A son dispute with a mother. A father disputes with a son. A son disputes with a father. A brother disputes with a brother. A friend disputes with a friend. In this case, they engage in quarrels, conflicts, disruption, attack one another with hands, cods, sticks, and weapons. There they meet with death and deadly pain. Again, Mahanama, owing to sensual pleasures, they take sword and shield, arm themselves with bow and arrow, and the two sides advance towards battle. When arrows are shot, javelins are thrown, swords are flashed by lightning, they get pierced by arrows, pierced by javelins, and cut heads with swords. There they meet with death and deadly pain. Again, owing to sensual pleasures, robbers breaks into houses, plunders, robs, stay in ambush, go to others' wives. The kings catch them and punish them in various ways. They get them canned and whipped, flogged with the jungle rope, flogged with the solid stick. Their hands are chopped off, their legs are chopped off. Immersed in boiling oil, they are given to the dogs to be eaten. Raised on a spike alive until death. Their necks is cut with the sword. This too is the dangers of sensual pleasures, here and now, abundant pain, owing to sensual pleasures. Again, Mahanama, owing to sensual pleasures, they misbehave in the body. They misbehave in the words. They misbehave in the mind. And having done so, after death, they are born in the woeful states, in a bad destination, in the abyss, in the hellish realms. This is the danger of sensual pleasure, hereafter a bundle of suffering. This can be cited in the Kula Dukkha Kanda Sutra in the Majjhima Nikaya, Volume 1, 91 to 92. This ends Chapter 5 on human life from the perspective of the Theravada tradition. As we enter the perspective of the Mahayana, our universe, on Chapter 5 on human life, on the next. This is Commons Buddhist Text, Guidance and Insight from the Buddha. Chief Editor, Pra Maha Dr. Dhamma Kosachan.